Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Youthman. In this video, man, I want to share with you an incredible device that literally has transformed the bass response in my room. Now, before we jump into the video, if you're into home theater, audio and video, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified when the next video drops. All right, guys, I have had the miniDSP 2x4 HD in my home, sadly, for about a year. The biggest reason why I haven't dived into it is there really wasn't that much content online on how to properly set it up and how to utilize it and implement it in a home theater setup. Now, I'd watched several reviews and several videos on how to do it, but honestly, all of them were just pretty much really difficult to follow and just weren't real concise. But recently, about 2 weeks ago, I decided to dive into one of my friend's videos, Steven Smith. He's got a new YouTube channel called Home Theater Gurus, and Steven really knows his stuff. But he had a video on how to set up the miniDSP 2x4 HD, and I thought, what the heck, I've got some time now, so I'll dive into it. Let's see if we can figure this thing out. Now, his video is quite lengthy. It's about an hour and a half long, but guys, it's incredibly detailed, and he'll literally walk you step by step on how to set it up, how to take measurements, how to combine that with REW, how to set EQ settings, and all of that. And so in this video, I'm not gonna walk through how I did it. I'll let Steven do that. He did a phenomenal job on his video. So I'll post a link to his video up here in the card above, as well as down in the description below, so you can check that out after watching this video. But I just want to share with you my experience with the 2x4 HD and share with you kind of what I was able to achieve with that video. Now, since this was my first time using the miniDSP, honestly, my results were okay. They weren't fantastic. They were definitely better, but they weren't super great. Now, about a week ago, I received a message from a friend of mine whom I just recently did a room tour of his setup. Now, if you haven't seen Tony's setup, it literally is the most incredible Dolby Atmos system that I have ever experienced. I'll link it up here in the card above and also in the description below, so be sure to check out that video. It's a phenomenal system. So Tony messaged me the other day and he asked me if I wanted him to help with the calibration and kind of tweak the settings in the miniDSP, since, like I said, it was just my first time and I had told him I didn't get amazing results, but it was better. So I asked him when he wanted to get together, and he said, well, how about now? And this was about 10 p.m. at night. Guys, we spent the next 4 hours working on my setup, and so that was super kind of him. What he actually did was dialed into my computer remotely using TeamViewer. He was able to take control of REW as well as miniDSP. And so we began to go through the process of what he did in his setup that made it sound so incredible. And so again, I can't go into all the details in this video of what we did, but basically I'll be able to show you on the computer some of the progression of what we were able to accomplish, kind of a before as well as an after. Now, before I get into the computer and show you, I want to give a big thanks to my patrons, and especially my new patrons. Over the past week, I've received many new patrons. So guys, I want to say thank you so much for your support, especially in the middle of this kind of mess that we're in our economy and in our world. But I am grateful and extremely thankful for each one of you. Now, if you enjoy my content and you find these videos helpful to you and your setup, I would love for you to consider becoming a patron. One of the benefits of becoming a patron today is that in just 2 more days, I'll be sharing with my patrons first a new giveaway that we're going to be celebrating here coming soon for 50,000 subscribers. Now, this giveaway is going to be huge. It's about an $850 value. And so I'm going to announce it first to the patrons. It's going to give them about a week to kind of get in extra daily entries, which will give them a better opportunity to winning the giveaway. And then on April the 8th, I'll open it up and announce it here on the YouTube platform as well as on my Youthman Newsletter. And so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. But if you want early access and a better chance to win, head over to patreon.com/youthman. And so with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the computer and let me show you what we did. All right, so here we are inside of REW. Now, if you're not familiar with REW, it stands for Room EQ Wizard. Now, REW allows you to take measurements of your room when you connect, say, for instance, your laptop to your receiver with an HDMI cable, and then connect a calibrated USB microphone to your laptop. And in my case, I use a UMIK1 from miniDSP as my calibrated microphone. And so basically what this software allows me to do is run tests on each subwoofer and find out what is the frequency response. And so I'll show you the first one. So a few weeks ago when I was going through Steven's tutorial on the miniDSP 2x4 HD, this is kind of where I started. So down here you can see it says JTR RS2 left only. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on. All right, so here we have the first frequency sweep. So basically, if you're not familiar with frequency sweeps, what happens is REW is able to send frequencies to your speaker. So I turned on just the left JTR RS2 subwoofer, and I told REW to run a sweep from 10 hertz, you can see it right down here, all the way up to 120 hertz. And what it does is it graphs on a chart how loud each part of that frequency is. So here you can see, if I click right here, at 10 hertz, it was 93 decibels. So 93.6 decibels. You can see as the frequency went up, let's go right about here, 12 decibels, we actually lost output. It's only 87 decibels. Then down here, we lost even more output at 16. So then when we got up here to 28 hertz, we were at 90 decibels. And so you can kind of see what's going on in your room. And so we had some lack of bass here, then a little bit more bass here. But then look what happened. With just one JTR RS2 subwoofer behind my screen, this is the frequency response that I got. And so as you can see, my room has some serious acoustic challenges. This is not the frequency response of the subwoofer. This is actually the frequency response of the subwoofer and how it interacts in my room. So that's why a lot of guys recommend you taking this to what they call an open plane, which is where you take it out in an open field. There's no boundaries. There's nothing for the microphone to pick up other than just the subwoofer itself. And that's what you'll see like on the manufacturer's websites when they show you frequency response. But this is how a subwoofer responds in my room behind my screen with just one of them. So as you can see, we lost a ton of output right in this 40 hertz to 60 hertz, 70 hertz. So that's pretty nasty, okay? And so let's go ahead and turn the second one on. So then I measured again with just the right one. So this one is a green. So I'm gonna turn off the first one. So as you can see, not much better, definitely a lot of just huge nulls, major issues. And so this is one thing that I want to encourage you with this video. If you're not utilizing REW with a calibrated microphone, guys, I'm telling you, you are literally just guessing at how the bass response is in your room. Even if you do the sub crawl, you're figuring out and you're hearing certain frequencies, you may not see that you've got a huge null here at 52 hertz. You may not see that you've got a huge null here at about 81 hertz. So this is pretty much the only way you're going to know for sure how your subwoofer or subwoofers are performing in your room. And so as you can see, one subwoofer by itself doesn't do so hot. Another subwoofer by itself doesn't do so hot. So then I took a third measurement, and that was with both subwoofers on. So here you can see, oh my gosh, we just totally tanked. So with both of these, basically they're fighting against each other. The way that the bass frequencies are bouncing around in my room and reaching my primary listening position, which is where I had the calibration microphone at, you can see if I turn these back on, we lost probably about 30 dB of output. So we went, let's just say for right here, this is 93 decibels all the way down to about what, 60, no, that's 58. So that's huge, guys. And so you cannot just think that, hey, the answer to my bass problems, or the reason why I'm not getting better bass in my room, I just need to buy another subwoofer. That may not be the case. You might just need to change some settings, or as you'll see in my case, you might be able to do all of those changes within the miniDSP 2x4 HD. All right, so now you can see the progression. One subwoofer by itself, two subwoofers by itself. And so here's where we arrived, or I arrived, with both JTR subwoofers turned on behind my screen. So then I went into the miniDSP. And miniDSP, one of the things that allows you to do is time align your subwoofers. Now basically, the simplest form of time alignment is basically adding a delay to one of my two subwoofers so that the bass frequencies and the bass notes hit my listening position at the same time so that they're not canceling each other out, which is what we're seeing here. So I just started going through various milliseconds. So I would add 2 milliseconds, I would run a frequency sweep and see how that compared. 3, 4, 5. And so I got all the way up to about 12 milliseconds, and that's what I found gave me the best frequency response. And here's how it looks just by adding a delay to one of my subwoofers. Boom. We got all of this output back. Now again, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off this chart here. So again, still not looking really great, guys, okay? But we got all of this back with just adding a 12 millisecond delay. And so my subwoofers are now time aligned to each other so that the bass frequencies from both of them are summing and they're hitting my ears at the same time. So this is about as good as I was able to get it. So then I went into the miniDSP, and with REW, you can come in here and click EQ, and you can go in there and change all of these settings here. Now again, I'm not going to walk through each one of these, and these aren't the actual settings that I used on mine, but Steven's tutorial will walk you through on each one of these settings. And to me, like I said, without that tutorial, it would have just been really overwhelming. And so go check that out. So the next step after I time aligned them was I went into the EQ setting there and basically added some settings changes there. And it basically tries to add some EQ to try to flatten this out as best as it possibly can. Now, the problem is you cannot take a null, that's a lack of bass like right here, and you can't just say, okay, I want to boost that 25 decibels. It's not happening, okay? What you end up having to do is take these peaks, all of this right in here, and lower it down to here so that that graph can be, a lot more flat. And so you get even bass response across the frequency spectrum. And so by adding the EQ through the miniDSP and through REW, and after that I ended up running Odyssey. So this is combining Odyssey and that EQ. Here's what I was able to achieve. So let's go ahead and turn this one off. So you can see pretty decent through here. Had a little funky null here. Never could get rid of that. And then up here at about 100 hertz, I still had this nasty kind of, just a huge dip. And so again, this was my first time ever using the miniDSP, and so it was decent, but I knew it could get better. And that's when I reached out to Tony, because I know Tony knows the software way better than I do. And so he said, hey, when do you want to get together? And we ended up doing it that night. And after spending about 4 hours, again, I'm not walking through exactly what we did, but here's the difference. This was mine, what I was able to achieve with Odyssey and EQ, and this is what Tony was able to achieve on my system using the same software, REW, and the miniDSP. major difference, guys. So I'm gonna just go ahead and turn this one off because mine's garbage in comparison. So look at this. So this is relatively flat. We've got, you know, just some minor bumps, but overall, my understanding, and again, I'm still really new to this, but my understanding, Tony said this is actually pretty nice. It's not bad, it's not perfect, and no room's going to be perfect. You'll notice we have this kind of little bump here and this dip here. So his recommendation, I mean, that's pretty much flat down to 10 hertz, guys. So at 10 hertz, this frequency response is still pretty flat, okay? So I'm getting solid output down to 10 hertz. That's insane. That is absolutely ridiculous, and it's honestly pretty exciting. So his recommendation, one thing that we could have done is we can add kind of like a filter that will pretty much anything below 10 hertz, it'll start dropping off really quick so that you won't damage your subwoofer and you won't have any issues in there. But honestly, guys, down to 10 hertz, that's insane. My PB16s would get about 20 hertz, maybe about 17 hertz, and then they would start dropping off right about here. And they would just decline really rapidly. So to get down to 10 hertz, that's phenomenal. And then he said that it's actually, kind of preferred to have this kind of slant down towards this direction. Again, I'm not super familiar with this and why that's optimal instead of just being flat straight across this line right here. But he said that's actually what you want it to do, to kind of have that slope off. Again, we got a little issue here, but that's not major, man. Compare that to this, no comparison. I mean, look at there. He was able to get rid of that dip, and I just had this massive hole. And so again, I've got a lot to learn with REW and miniDSP, but I wanted to show you guys how we went from that with 2 subwoofers without doing anything to using REW, a calibrated microphone, and the miniDSP 2x4 HD to accomplish this. All right, so you may be thinking, Michael, that's great and all. You've got kind of a flatter frequency response, but so what? How does that translate to better bass in your room? Well, I'm glad you asked. So that morning was pretty late when we finished. It was probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. So I wasn't able to crank it up and kind of see for myself, how does this sound? Does it sound better? Is bass tighter? Is it louder? What did that really do for my setup in my room? So the next morning I got up and I put in A Star Is Born. Now, if you guys haven't heard A Star Is Born, the music in the movie is phenomenal. The story is fantastic as well. But listening on a proper setup, man, what an amazing, amazing sound that it produces. And so while I was visiting JTR and visiting Tony's setup and visiting Scott's setup, that was a demo that both of them shared in their systems. So I kind of had a good reference point of how did theirs sound with that. And so I just knew it was a phenomenal track, and so I wanted to see if I had a similar experience here in my home theater. And so I put in Shallow, and then there's another one called Always Remember Us This Way. Both of those tracks are phenomenal. And so, I cranked it up to maybe, it's probably about -10 dB on my system, which is about normal for me when I'm watching movies. And guys, it was incredible. Bass response was incredibly tight. The song, both of them kind of start off just, with the piano, and then when the bass kicks in, it's just like, oh man, it just gives you all warm and fuzzy feelings, and it was smooth, but it was powerful. Really, really powerful. Like, bass was deep. One thing I noticed with Tony's settings on my system is that sometimes when I would play songs or I'd play movies, it would almost just seem like, I would hear bass and then bass kind of wasn't there, certain frequencies. Again, looking back at the charts, it makes sense. I had these big dips in certain frequencies, maybe 50 hertz. And so if a song was playing and that bass note hit in that 50 hertz range, guess what? That bass is kind of sucked out from that experience, and I'm not feeling that, and I'm not hearing that, at least not near as loud. And so what was really, really amazing is having all of those frequencies playing at about the same volume. So every time the musical notes would step down, it would go from this note to this note to this note to this note, it was just clear and tight and clean and punchy. Man, it was incredible. I loved it. And so both of those tracks were great. And so then I was like, okay, well, what about movies? Of course, I love movies. I'm into home theater, and I listen to movies much more than I do like concert DVDs or 2-channel audio. So I popped in some of my go-to videos like John Wick 3 and Godzilla, Ready Player One. Oh, man. Super, super clean, man. We're talking lots more output. I had just this tactile feeling. I was getting it before, but holy cow, was I ever getting it now. Incredible. So then my son, he ended up buying a new movie, 1917. And so it's a war movie. So I figured, all right, man, this is going to be good. This is going to be awesome. And so we put it in. And honestly, the movie itself is kind of slow, in my opinion. You guys may think it was amazing and wonderful. There's mixed reviews out there. I think it was an okay movie. A lot slower tempo and pace than what I would like. But the storyline was really cool, really great. But I want to tell you about one particular scene. Now, I'm not going to give any spoilers. I won't even tell you exactly what happened. But kind of near the beginning of the movie, they're just trying to build the storyline and kind of build the suspense there. But there's one scene, and if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. There's something that happens near the beginning, and I think there were 6 of us in here watching. When that happened, holy cow, I literally jumped. And I don't jump. I mean, I've heard loud explosions. Like I said, I've cranked Aquaman, and that's got some really, really deep LFE. But oh my goodness, man, this was a whole new level deal. This was like, I need to go check my drawers kind of thing to make sure that something didn't just slip out, because it was insane. It hit, and we all jumped like, oh my goodness. I thought my roof was going to cave in. These RS2s are ridiculous. And now that I've got them dialed in, I've got to go back and listen to like all of my stuff again, because it's taking even what I experienced when I first got them and what I thought was kind of dialed in. It's just taking it to another level, guys. So if you're watching this video and you're wondering, man, how could I improve bass without having to buy another subwoofer? Guys, I'm telling you, if you get REW, which is free, pick up a calibrated microphone, which is, I think, about 100, 120 bucks, something like that. There's different brands. I'll link them down in the description below. I use the miniDSP UMIC 1. Other guys use a Dayton audio microphone. It doesn't really matter. Get one that fits within your budget, one that other people recommend. But learn to use REW. And REW is great because you can do, even with just the calibrated microphone and the REW, you can put your subwoofer in one place. Run a frequency sweep. Now move it over here, maybe to the other side of your room. Run another frequency response and see which one has the better response. And so you might find in your setup where you placed your subwoofer is the worst place in the world in your room. You just thought it would work great because it looked good there. And so you really are only guessing if you're not using some measurement software like REW. Now I've got a video that I did called Why You Need Dual Subwoofers. Now, honestly, you don't need dual subwoofers, but there are some major benefits of having them. But I'm going to link it right up here in the card above and in the description below, because in that video, I show you, I think I had the PB16s, SVS PB16s, and kind of the same thing. I played one, I played the other. Both of those had major dips. And then I played both of them, and just by having two subwoofers in my room, that actually fixed a lot of those nulls, okay? And so get the software, get the calibrated microphone, and then if you want to take it a step further and you want to be able to fix some of those issues in your room using time alignment, using EQ settings in conjunction with Odyssey. A lot of guys just run Odyssey and think that that's just going to fix their issues. It doesn't. It does as best as it can, but really what you want to do is get your subwoofers dialed in as best you can with time alignment, with placement, and get it as smooth as you can, and then run Odyssey and let it kind of fix any small imperfections in that, and then you'll get a lot better bass response in your room. Well guys, if you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe because I produce weekly content and I've got lots of videos coming even this week. And as always, you guys be blessed and we'll catch you in the next video.